story is Mr. Meddles' umbrella. When Mr. Meddle went to stay with his Aunt Jemima, she was very strict with him. She made him put on galoshes when it was wet, and a hat when it was sunny, and a scarf round his throat when the wind was cold. "I wish you wouldn't fuss," Meddle kept saying. "Aunt Jemima, I wish you wouldn't fuss." "Meddle, you are so silly that I'm sure I don't know what would happen to you if I didn't fuss," said his aunt. "I am not going to have you in bed with colds while you are staying here. So I'm going to fuss all I like, and you will have to do as you are told." Now, if there's one thing more than another that Meddle hated, it was taking an umbrella out with him. He simply couldn't bear it. "If I have to carry an umbrella, it's a perfect nuisance," he said. "It gets between my ankles and trips me up. It digs itself into people as I pass them, and they get angry with me. I just can't bear an umbrella." "Well, my dear Meddle, you'll have to take one this afternoon when you go out, because it's simply pouring with rain," said his aunt firmly. "Look at it, pouring cats and dogs." "I wish it really would pour cats and dogs," said Meddle. "I've always wanted to see that, and I never have. I shan't go out this afternoon, Aunt Jemima, if you make me take an umbrella." "Oh, very well," said his aunt. "Then you can't call at the bookshop and get your sunny stories." "Oh, I simply must have that," said Meddle. "Why, I might be in the book this week." Well, it was still raining that afternoon when Meddle put his coat on and told Aunt Jemima he was going out. His aunt went to the horse stand and fetched her umbrella. It was a big fat red one, and had a bright red crooked handle. And here it is, look at it. Isn't it beautiful? Red's my favourite colour. What a shame this picture isn't in colour. But that's a red umbrella with a big bright red handle. "You'll get through if you don't take this. You'll get wet through if you don't take this," she said. "Now go along, hurry up." "Bother," said Meddle. "Bother, bother, bother. I do so hate umbrellas." "Meddle, if you don't take it, you can't go out," said Aunt Jemima. So Meddle took it and went down the garden path. He began thinking about a story he was going to write. It was a story about a soldier who was very brave. "He shall have a sword," said Meddle to himself. "An enormous sword. And he would use it like this: slash, slash, poke, poke, slash, slash." Meddle began to slash about with the umbrella as if it were a sword. My, he did feel grand. People stared at him in surprise as they passed, but Meddle didn't even see them. "My soldier shall fight well," he cried. Slash, slash. So he's going slash, slash, slash with the umbrella. All right. He nearly knocked old Mrs. Jinx's hat off her head, and she scurried away in fright. Meddle went all the way to the bookshop in the pouring rain, pretending that the umbrella was a sword. And he didn't even put it up. He soon was quite soaked, and the rain dripped down his neck. So, of course, when he got home again, his coat was dripping, and his hair was so wet that it looked dreadful. "Meddle, didn't you put up the umbrella?" cried his aunt angrily. "Oh, you silly creature! What's the use of taking out an umbrella if you don't put it up? Now you will get a dreadful cold," said Meddle with a sneeze. And the next day he was in bed, feeling very bad. Well, when he was up and wanted to go out for a walk, his Aunt Jemima looked up at the sky. "Meddle," she said, "it looks like rain. I don't think I can trust you to go out. You'll only get wet again." "Aunt Jemima, if you'll only let me go out and buy a bottle of spoiled sweets, I promise I'll take an umbrella," said Meddle. "But will you put it up?" asked his aunt. "You took an umbrella last time, but you didn't put it up, and what's the use of that? Last time you said your umbrella was a sword. This time you may pretend it's a lamppost or something." Well, Meddle got out of his way. He took the fat red umbrella out of the horse stand and went off. It wasn't raining, but after a little some drops began to fall. So Meddle was busy putting his hand into the bag to get out a nice red sweet, and he was cross. "Stupid rain," he said. "Well, I promised my aunt to put up the umbrella, so I must." Meddle held up his umbrella above his head, but he didn't put it up. He just held it up like a stick, without opening the umbrella at all. He was so busy with his sweets that he forgot that an umbrella must be opened when it is held up. So there he was, going down the road, getting wetter and wetter, his umbrella held up unopened above his head. "Well, well," said Meddle to himself, "what's the use of an umbrella after all? I'd like to know. I'm getting just as wet as if I'd not taken one out with me at all. Splash, splash, splash. The rain comes down and I'm getting soaked." Now Aunt Jemima was watching for Meddle when he came home, and when she saw him walking up the path with his umbrella held like a stick over his head, she was really very angry. Meddle saw her frowning, and he was puzzled. "Now, what's the matter, Aunt?" he cried as he walked up the path and saw her looking out of the window. "I took the umbrella, didn't I? And I put it up, didn't I? But what's the use? I'm just as wet as ever." "My dear Meddle, you might as well take a pea stick to hold over your head as an umbrella, if you don't bother to put it up," said his aunt. "Look up and see your umbrella." So Meddle looked up and saw that he had forgotten to open the umbrella, and he felt rather foolish. "Dear me," he said, "I have been rather silly." "You'll have a cold tomorrow," said Aunt Jemima. "Shh," said Meddle. And of course he was in bed with a cold the very next day. Well, Aunt Jemima was very cross and not a bit nice to Meddle. When he was up again, she spoke to him very sternly. "Meddle, every time you go out in future, you will take an umbrella with you," she said, "and you will practice putting it up and down before you go out. Then perhaps you will remember that an umbrella is meant to be opened when it is in use." So Meddle practiced putting the umbrella up and down, and opened and shut it a dozen times before he went out. The cat hated it. It was a great shock to her whenever Meddle suddenly opened the umbrella just in front of her. Well, when Meddle's cold was well enough for him to go out, his aunt made him take the umbrella with him. "But it isn't raining," said Meddle. "Oh, no, Aunt, I'd look silly." "You'll look a whole lot sillier if you get a third cold and miss your birthday party," said Aunt Jemima. "Now take the umbrella and don't make a fuss, Meddle." So Meddle took it with him, though the sun was shining brightly. He went to visit his friend Gobo, and he sat and talked to him for a long time. And of course, when he left to go home, he quite forgot to take the umbrella with him, and he left it behind in Gobo's hall stand. And here he is, sitting, chatting away to his friend. They're having afternoon tea. They're having a great time talking about all sorts of funny little things that have happened to them in their life, which made him forget his umbrella. And so when he was almost home, the rain came down. How it poured! You should have seen it. Meddle got quite a shock when he felt the big raindrops stinging his face. "Ha! Good thing I took an umbrella with me," he said. "A very good thing indeed. I'll put it up." But the umbrella wasn't there to put up. Meddle stared all around as if he thought the umbrella would come walking up. But of course it didn't. "Bother," said Meddle. "Where's it gone? I know I had it when I left home. How can I put an umbrella up if it isn't here? Oh, my goodness, what will Aunt Jemima say when she sees me coming home in the rain without the umbrella? I wonder if she's looking out of the window. I won't peep and see in case she is. I'll run all the way back to Gobo's and see if I've left the umbrella there." If only Meddle had looked, he would have seen his aunt knocking at the window to tell him to run quickly up the garden path and come in out of the rain. Instead of that, he ran down the road again and went all the way back to Gobo's with the rain pouring down on him. How wet he got! He dripped like a piece of seaweed. By the time he got to Gobo's, he was wet through and shivering. He banged at the door. Gobo opened it. "I've come back for my umbrella before I get wet," said Meddle. "Oh, you silly, you're soaked already," said Gobo, "and as for your umbrella, I've sent Mrs. Gobo to your aunt's with it. You must have missed her. I can't lend you one because I haven't got one at the moment. My goodness, won't you get wet?" So Meddle had to run back in the rain without an umbrella at all, and his shoes went squelch, 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 and his coat went drip, drip, drip. How angry his Aunt Jemima was when he came in. "Meddle, I sent you out with an umbrella and you come home in the pouring rain without it. And I knock at the window to tell you to come in and you run off down the road again. And then Mrs. Gobo comes in with your umbrella and you come home again as wet as a sponge. You'll get a very bad cold." "At-shoo," said Meddle at once. "At-shoo! I must go and get a hanky." And of course he was in bed with a bad cold the next day and missed his own birthday party after all. Now he is packing up to go home because his aunt says she won't keep him any longer. Do you know what she gave him for a birthday present? Guess. That's right, an umbrella, and the handle was a donkey's head. I chose a donkey because I really thought it would suit you well, said Aunt Jemima. But I expect he will leave it on the bus, don't you? That was a good story, wasn't it?